Dig back far enough in your awareness. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Empty, pure, bare awareness. Eternally colored by experience. Empty, pure, bare awareness. Eternally colored by experience. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Empty, pure, bare awareness. Eternally colored by experience. Empty, pure, bare awareness. Eternally colored by experience. Welcome to the direct path, number 5. Thanks for tuning in. That's a little jingle that came through. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to repurpose it as you'd like. All right, let's jump in. For those that haven't seen the first 4 direct path videos, highly recommend checking those out. The links are in the bio below. Again, what is the direct path? The direct path is the direct path to self-realization of the kingdom of God within you. You are God, you are source. I am God, I am source. We all are God, we all are source. We are all infinity expressing itself. And that is what these direct path videos aim to do. Through my expression, hopefully assist with the finding process for the viewers, for them to pierce the veil of illusory diversity, to recognize themselves as that one infinite creator. So that is our intention. Our intention is to know thyself. 2 words that were written on the top of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the most prominent Delphic maxim, know thyself, 2,500 years ago, completely lost in modernity. And again, not know thyself like self-actualization, like the outer expression, but know thyself in terms of self-realization, the inner path. Because once you successfully pierce the veil and recognize yourself as the one infinite creator, as God, as source, as infinity expressing itself, everything that you do in your self-actualization will be of the absolute highest morality. And we covered that in very deep depth in the direct path number 4 video. So let's start with number 1, why I make these. I recently had a conversation with one of my close friends, Andy, And it's really beautiful because a lot of the time we ask ourselves the fundamental question of why do I do what I do? And if you're in a place of ego, service to self, usually what happens is your answer has something to do with money, fame, fortune, wealth, vanity, conspicuous consumption, materialism, impressing people, that type of stuff. The true one that is self-realized, their why is because it's their expression of infinity. I do not do this for any other reason besides to express myself, first and foremost. I'm going to do this regardless, because this is what is my unique expression of infinity. Beyond that, if it brings value to people in their paths of finding, in their paths of piercing the veil to recognize themselves as the one infinite creator, awesome. And also, very similarly, is the case with the people in the positions of the greatest power on the planet. If it catalyzes their awakening beyond egoic levels of consciousness towards non-dual states of being, then that's exactly what is needed in civilization in order to ensure long-term maximal well-being, prosperity, abundance, actualization, harmony. But first and foremost, it's my expression of infinity, first and foremost. And I would highly encourage you as well to come from that place of the one infinite creator expressing itself, not with an attachment of any sorts. Number 2, there's nothing to seek. The Sufi metaphysics have a very profound way of addressing this, which is they say that only he who is completely ignorant seeks what is already there. And then the second part of the sentence goes, yet it remains for you to recognize it. So, this is why the game of the ego does something along the lines of, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to seek, there's no enlightenment to attain. I don't need to feel infinity, I don't need to feel eternity, I don't need to feel bliss and peace. I'm okay with my 1 minute of bliss and peace every single day. Because what happens is as soon as the being begins communing more and more with the one infinite creator, the ego dissolves. And so that's the game of the ego, is to instruct people to stay ignorant so that the ego can continue thriving, so that the rumination and depression and anxiety and anger and resentment and jealousy and malevolence and negativity can continue not only affecting the being but also permeating and butterfly affecting into civilization. So the truest thing about you is the impulse to seek. That is literally your lifeline to the one infinite creator. That's your lifeline to God. It is your lifeline to source. It is your lifeline to piercing the veil of ignorance, piercing the veil of forgetting, and recommuning with the one infinite creator, with that diamond necklace that is already around your neck. It remains for you to recognize it. Seek your ass off, and the truth will yield. But dedicate yourself like a 40-hour-a-week job, and it will yield. But you have to go that hard. And there are teachings like this direct path and several others that accelerate the piercing of the veil. Don't listen to the ego that says it requires 30 years in a mountain monastery. It does not. Especially modernity needs this more than ever. Number 4. Skip number 3. Number 3. Matrix deconditioning. Just when you perceive the social fabric, perceive it as though it is a bunch of subscriptions. And desubscribe, unsubscribe, unfollow the subscriptions that are causing you to feel not bliss and peace on a 24/7 basis. And there's a lot of the matrix conditioning that has a lot to do with the perpetual economic machinery that is also the same thing that creates all of the propaganda that keeps people asleep. Recognize the pieces to that machinery and unsubscribe from them. Very similarly, in your social feeds, when you look through your social feeds, unsubscribe, unfollow from everything that does not serve your self-realization, that does not serve your 24/7 bliss peace, period. And we recognize that the matrix conditioning serves humanity. It does. It serves our awakening. It acts like a pressure cooker to awaken us, like a drill sergeant to awaken us, for us to know that there's something significantly more that we already are than what appears to be an obsession with materialism, conspicuous consumption, money, greed, ego, disharmony. Unsubscribe. And subscribe to what accelerates your self-realization. Number 4, the coat of many colors. I recently asked myself, as many of you know, I've studied all of the perennial spiritual mystic traditions. And I was wondering what, if I had to pick, would be my favorite story from the Abrahamic religion. So I really like Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors, as you can tell, and the also profound similarity that that story also has in the Quran with Yusuf is also very, very enriching and enlightening, because you realize that there's actually a lot of profound overlaps between Islam and Judeo-Christianity, which then you aim to show those and harmonize the two. So the way that the coat of many colors helps you in your process of knowing yourself is that the more that you become a synthesist, the more that you parse from the absolute highest parts of the fitness landscape across different disciplines, the more that you parse from the highest mountains on the edge of civilization's knowledge graph, and you bring in all of those most Pareto efficient data streams from the tops in through you, and you refract that as your beautiful essence and being, the more you'll accelerate your process and self-realization. So in other words, it is find the smartest people, find the smartest sources of wisdom and knowledge on the planet, surround yourself with them, add all of those to your notes, add them all to your graphics that you illustrate, keep them all in a nice lattice work. And then what will happen is along the way, you will revisit terms, you will get introduced to new things, and you'll profoundly augment yourself more and more towards self-realization. An example is I had held Wadat al-Wujud, which is of the Sufi metaphysic, the unity of all being in existence, in my lattice work for a year, until I read William Chittick's piece on the Ibn Arabi Society, where he writes that it's not just the unity of all being in existence, but it's the unity of all finding. And I made an entire video about this because it threw my entire being into a shock. And it was because I had that studied in my lattice work, which is why it was able to be so profoundly augmented to be viewed as all 8 billion people undergoing their process of finding simultaneously. And I have a nice graphic here that I'll show you guys in a bit that is going to explain some of this in a little bit more detail, and it's very similar to that recent God's Brain video that we made on the channel. So again, synthesize from the peaks of many disciplines into your lattice work, and that will make you more efficient in self-realization. Number 5, the pause and the now. We've been talking about the pause in, I believe, every single one of the direct path videos because it's that important. And it very simply just means use the breath, which is very much the nature of reality. Use the breath to slow yourself down. And use it as a tool to dig back far enough in your awareness use it as a tool to create the space that's needed for you to redirect your attention from what is negative and depressive and that is not serving you towards what is positive and enlightening and is serving you. Use your breath. Use your breath. Use your breath. And the more that you do that, the more you'll also realize that that is the now. That is the nature of our being and the nature of our existence. The better that we get at recognizing the power of that now, and the more that we live in that, And we use the breath to help us become more familiar with living that. The more of a healthy, happy, blissful, peaceful life we will live pragmatically. And pragmatically will also influence all of our friends, family, coworkers, community in the world. The more that we self-realize, the more we are in service to others, and the more that we create a harmonious coexistence. What happens is you approach number 6, which is the light flickering and ego death. So, again, this is a very perennial spiritual wisdom, which is that when you get better and better at the pause and the now, and you've deconditioned and unsubscribed from the matrix, and you've synthesized many of the spiritual wisdoms together, and you're pursuing that seeking impulse with great vigor, what's going to happen is you're going to have these little satoris that happen along the way. Satori meaning sudden enlightenment, or you can think about it like Siddharmeshwar's The Bird's Way. And the idea is that as you get these little light bulb flickers, that it happens for a second, you're like, what the was that? You know, how am I feeling this pure, bare, empty awareness? Even for just a moment I felt it, but now I'm back lost in thoughts and emotions and feelings and beliefs and objects. But for a moment I felt that pure, bare, empty awareness. For a moment I felt the bare, pure, empty paper that all of the words are being written on. Or for a moment, I felt the completely empty, pure, bare screen without any of the movies or images or applications or social media or videos that were running on it. And so over time, there's going to be more and more of this flickering, and basically every single time that light flickers, more and more of the ego dies. More and more of the ego is dissolved. You will no longer associate yourself with your name. You will no longer associate yourself with your location. You'll no longer associate yourself with your ethnicity, your heritage, your lineage. You'll no longer associate yourself with your work, with your job, with your age, with what you eat. You will begin strictly abiding. That's what is meant by Atma Vichara. It's the abiding process where you abide in the one infinite creator. You abide in that light that is becoming more and more clearly illuminated. That is what enlightenment means. Once the journey to God ends, the journey in God begins. And it's gorgeous. When the ego dies, it's gorgeous. You literally see crystal clear the one infinite creator being expressed everywhere, including in every single apparently other subject, human. And it's extremely profoundly beautiful. You begin acting more and more like a mirror of pure unity consciousness. This is where I would say that I'm at a place where I've approaching number 7, which is being infinity. Right now, I very clearly feel myself as an expression of infinity, but there will be times throughout the day where I will, for a moment or two, or sometimes even maybe 10 or 15 seconds, that I will, in a sense, feel like I'm not present in the now. That I've picked up some sort of an onion layer, or maybe a part of thinking that is in the past or in the present, or in the future, I should say. But it's pretty fast. It's within maybe 10 or 15 seconds is now right back into the present infinity expressing itself. So you could say, light is very clearly flickering faster and faster towards being turned on permanently. And my ego is extremely close to being completely dissolved. Alan is completely dead. That guy is completely dead. 100% dead. There is a little bit of a trace of Atlas left. A little bit. But I pretty much associate myself with the one infinite creator, with infinity expressing itself. It apparently, the only trace of Atlas that I even really feel that's left is sort of the, quote, you could say, goals of Atlas, as in the way that Atlas is, the way that the one infinite creator is expressing itself through Atlas into the creation. And so more and more I'm just dissociating from that. The other thing, and this is a very common actual theme for many people that even experience the light bulb fully staying on, is that there's still some sort of a procreative tendency. As in, there's still at some point in life when you're 30, 35, whatever age, that there is going to be a potential harmonization that happens with an other, and then you bring another child into the world. And so more and more that even dissolves, and it just becomes a complete surrender to living in the perfection of what infinity is expressing. And you just become surrendered to the fact that infinity is expressing itself through you, and that naturally whatever's going to happen with all of these goals that Atlas has with becoming even a father is going to naturally unfold its way. And that is what is meant by the Tao, the way, right? Surrender to the fact of living in infinity, in God, in Source, in Brahman, and just be. Just express from there. Just surrender to that unfolding. And the more that you become that infinity, the more it leads you to number 8, the 24-hour Bliss-Peace. So rather than having 1 or 5 minutes of bliss and peace every day, which apparently a decent amount of modernity thinks is just fine, is living in complete suffering and depression and misery and anger and a monkey mind that's dragging them around and absolutely destroying them in their day-to-day happiness, and cortisol levels are high and causing pathology in their bodies. What's the solution? Self-realization. Self-realization naturally eases you into 24-hour bliss peace. That's the light bulb staying on all the time. The amount of times per day that I just recognize that I am in a state of extreme bliss and peace in a present now that is eternal is so high. I'm starting to do that super often, and it's so amazing because I've never been doing that before in my life. And it's available for every single person. and I'm still highly productive. I'm even more productive because I'm in a state of harmony every moment. It's extremely pragmatic. Especially because then there's no self-dealing tendencies. There's no service to self tendencies. It's only service to other. Authentic, genuine, loving, compassionate service to other. Wise. Everyone deserves the 24-hour bliss peace. Number 9, child humor presence. This is another natural tendency of becoming the one infinite creator, is that you gain this very clear child humor presence where you feel free to just be like, or hey, and you can do whatever you want like that without having even a hesitation or a worry about what anyone else is going to think of you. Because you recognize you're just infinity expressing itself. And that you're going to naturally be able to ebb into child humor, and then you're naturally going to be able to ebb into something that's a little bit more, quote, serious and productive. And then those two things naturally merge together. And number 10, just making this home. Make this home. Become the one infinite creator. Become God. Become source. Become infinity expressing itself. It's been eternally doing this. And it will continue doing this. So recognize that you are it doing that. And that's when the bliss and the peace lands fully. And it becomes home. You deserve that. We all deserve that. So undergo this process across these direct path videos, and more you'll self-realize and recognize that this is eternally the nature of our existence. The paper, the pure, bare, empty awareness paper, that its nature is bliss peace, that is eternally being colored by words and experiences and thoughts and emotions and feelings and beliefs and objects. And so I purposely made this, which I'm going to show you here on the over-the-shoulder shot. It's very similar to what we explained in that God's Brain video, and it should help also in these direct path videos. So I'll go ahead and show it. It synthesizes a lot of what we taught in high-level perception as well. All right, so what you see here is you see at the very top, this you can say is God, source, infinity, and it extends infinitely, as you can see. Now, what's happening is that there are all of these creation designs that are happening. There's this one over here, there's this one, which is our universe, there's this one over here, and these are all different creation designs. So these are all different universes. So you can think about this as the multiverse and these as the different universes that are being created. Now, within our universe, there are several creations, even within ours, and this one's our Earth, and these all have different evolutions of sentience. So do these. So the whole point is for the infinite, for God, source, to express itself through all these creation designs, and this will have its own consciousness or awareness or sentience, this will too. So will these. And so this is just one here on Earth, meaning that this is literally 2 eyes, 4 limbs, right? We have carbon-based DNA encoded vehicles for consciousness, for awareness, for sentience. And so you have to use your imagination and think about all of the other vehicles that exist to explore expressing as the one infinite creator. So here's our Earth. And then here is all 8 billion of us. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for you guys. It'll be helpful if I do. Okay. So what's happening here is that there's 8 billion humans that are all finding, and you can tell that the color of their pupil is black. That black color to their pupil is what we have in common as God, as source, as infinity expressing itself. Now, the different colors of their irises are where they're at in these stages of awakening, or the lenses that they carry. So some people still carry the egoic, most veiled lens, which here is like red, like these eyes, or maybe they've worked their way up to a more social or ethno level of consciousness, which is more like these more teal eyes, and up to transpersonal or worldly level of consciousness, so more blue, or these non-dual infinite levels of consciousness like these over here, or these. So why I illustrate those stages of awakening is because they're the perennial, they are literally the perennial wisdom that has been shared across every single major person that has studied human development, is that we have this, in many ways, infinite bliss, peace, awareness when we are a baby. And then we have all of the matrix conditioning that comes on and throws us into this egoic mentality, that then we shed all those onion layers to that self-realization of non-duality, of infinity, and that we all go through that style of development of awakening to shed these lenses of ego and self-dealing. Except there are some places on the planet that don't have an economic machinery and matrix subscriptions. Like there are places like in Colombia with the Kogis, where they, as they're born, the mamas spend 9 years in a cave in darkness to grow their sensitivity to existence, to awareness, to non-duality, to the infinite. And then they don't undergo a process of subscribing to matrix. That's why they become a really good shaman throughout their even teenage years and then the later parts of their life as well. So that pretty much is the essence of what I wanted to share in this graphic. And so what you want to do ideally is you want to work you want to visualize these stages of awakening. You want to visualize them, you want to rocket yourself up as efficiently as possible, follow that seeking impulse to that non-dual infinite. That way you'll move away from being these red irises to being more like these peach irises. And then you'll recognize that we share the pupils, which is the infinite expressing itself through all these different creation designs and then piercing the veil to awaken to its own nature. So I hope that that was insightful. It's very similar to the God's Brain video that we made, so I highly recommend checking that out. I'll put that link in the bio below. And thanks very much for tuning in. I love you tons. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hopefully you've had some progress with self-realization. Congratulations if so. Watch the other 4 direct path videos if you haven't yet. And also subscribe if you haven't yet. Like the video, share it with people that you know this would be influential for. And undergo the practice. Undergo the practice. Set the intention of knowing yourself, of becoming the one infinite creator. Undergo the process of deconditioning yourself from the matrix, of synthesizing from the peaks of the fitness landscape, creating more and more of the pause, living in more and more of the now, feeling more and more of that light that flickers, the ego that dies, expressing yourself as actual infinity, and then really enjoying the bathing in the 24-hour bliss and peace and child humor presence, and making that home. That's all, folks. Love you tons. Thanks for tuning in. And let me know how you feel in the comments below about where you're at in your journey. I'll do my best to come in there and comment as much as I can. I've been, for the last couple of years, been pretty strong at getting in there and commenting, but have recently had to take a step back because there's just a lot of comments that are coming in. So I'll come in there. If you're kind, then I'll come in and I'll comment. So the kinder you are, the more likely you're going to get a reply. So just remember that. You don't want to be ego expressing itself and causing other people suffering and harm. You want to be more in that service to other mentality. So undergo these self-realization processes of the direct path. And check out the other teachers that I've listed in the bio below as well that have profoundly influenced me: Rupert Spira, Bentinho Massaro. Love you guys very much. Also check out the Law of One, incredible work as well that I've been mentioning a lot on the program. Very much like a PhD in metaphysics. Put that link in the bio below as well. Much love. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You will find the diamond necklace that is already around your neck. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Empty, pure, bare awareness, eternally colored by experience. Empty, pure, bare awareness, eternally colored by experience. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Dig back far enough in your awareness. Empty, pure, bare awareness, eternally colored by experience. Empty, pure, bare awareness, eternally colored by experience.